My name is Maria Benia and I am a professor at George Brown College in Toronto. I would also like to introduce Tammy Vaillancourt, who will present with me today. Tammy?
Hi, my name's Tammy Vaillancourt. I'm also a professor in the School of Hospitality, Tourism Management at George Brown College. Welcome.
Thank you, Tammy. So welcome to our virtual presentation on the COVID-19 pandemic on the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management programs and students. I would like to remind our virtual audience today that during this presentation, both Tammy and I will be available to answer any questions in the chat. So our agenda today will focus on presenting some information related to our school's enrollment, changes to the curriculum, and our students' perception and overall feedback, all in light of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. But first, to provide you with some context, the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at George Brown College offers students 4 different 2-year diploma pathways focused on tourism, events, food and beverage, and hotels. And we also offer a degree option in business administration with a focus on hospitality. Currently, we have over 1,300 students enrolled in our school at various levels in different semesters. But maybe even the larger context and the importance of our presentation today, maybe the reason why the pandemic has been so impactful on our school is due to our central location in downtown Toronto. Many of our students enrolled in our programs with hopes for future careers in the vibrant tourism and hospitality urban setting downtown Toronto has to offer. But today, of course, the landscape is very different, impacting our students' perceptions of their future careers. Next, I would like to welcome Tammy back to speak to you about the impact of the pandemic to our school's enrollment. Tammy.
Thank you, Maria. So what we want to look at here is the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management student targets for spring 2020. So this is our first fully online semester during the pandemic. The blue represents the previous spring term in a face-to-face model, and the orange bar graph represents our first semester online. It's important to note here that in the spring, we did not accept any new students into semester 1 for these targets. And what you see is that our projections showed a 76% decrease in domestic student targets, a 54% decrease in international student targets, for a total projected decrease of 65% in student projections for our first online term. In this slide here, what we're highlighting is what the actual outcome was. So in the previous slide, we discussed an overall 65% projected decrease. Of those projections, SHTM achieved 91% of the forecasted domestic student enrollment, 97% of forecasted international student enrollment, for a total of a 95% forecasted achieved enrollment. This is a bittersweet result from an internal planning perspective because our measurements to use planning for asset management and deploying resources for maximizing to assist online conversion of curriculum was well utilized. But from a labor market perspective, it solidified just how hard the impact was in the hospitality and tourism industry. And it confirmed that students were not enrolling for a variety of reasons, with the consequences being to the labor market moving forward. In this slide here, next slide, we are looking at our projected enrollment targets for fall. So this is SHTM's second fully online semester during the pandemic. Again, blue represents the previous fall term in a face-to-face model, and orange here represents our second semester online. It's important to note here that in the fall term, we did accept new students into semester 1 for these targets that are shown. And the projections show that we projected a 16% decrease in our domestic student enrollment. We projected a 6% decrease in our international student enrollment for a total of a 10% decrease in student enrollment. In the next slide here, you can see that from the previous slide overall, with a 10% projected decrease in student targets, SHTM achieved the following. We achieved 89% of student enrollment in domestics, for domestic students, 103% enrollment for our international student enrollment, achieving a total of 96% of our projections. As we prepared for the second semester online of the pandemic, ideally we had hoped to see a rebound in enrollment, but the reality is we projected a further reduction in enrollment with the guidance from our industry. Although the comparative to the impact in our first semester is minor, the increase of international actual enrollments may have been influenced by the change in student visa policies and postgrad work permits. And this slide here, we're now looking at SHTM student targets for winter 2021. So this was our third semester fully online during the pandemic. Again, here, blue represents the previous winter in terms of a face-to-face model, and orange represents our third semester online. Again, here, we did accept new students into semester one for our targets. Here, we projected a further decrease of 16% of domestic student enrollment. We projected a 21% decrease of international student enrollment, and overall projected a 21% decrease in student enrollment targets. Here we're looking at the previous slide where we had stated an overall 20% decrease. Of those targets, here you can see we achieved 103% of our domestic student target. We achieved 110% of our international student target, and we also achieved 107% of our total student target. We're seeing here that we anticipated a greater loss of total students in the winter term compared to the 2019 winter term. We exceeded projections, but projections further declined from the fall. So taking this outside of the context of the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management, we can really see here that COVID-19 has been impacting the hospitality and tourism industry for a variety of reasons, and students felt that studying was not the right choice at this time. And in this last enrollment slide here, this graph represents a summary of the School of Hospitality Tourism Management over the last fiscal year of the pandemic. Blue here represents our spring term, orange represents the fall term, and gray represents our winter term. Overall, we see an enrollment continuing to decrease throughout the pandemic, which will have future impacts on the labor market, such as fewer graduates entering the labor force. We need to advocate for keeping hospitality and tourism at the forefront as a viable career option. Moving into our next slide, Maria is going to discuss with you some of our internal strategies to combat these perceptions. Maria?
Thank you, Tammy. Aside from the obvious impacts to enrollment, the pandemic has also provided our school with challenges related to the delivery of our curriculum. As the pandemic evolved, and we found ourselves in isolation back in March 2020, George Brown College as an institution made a decision to stop the delivery of all programs for 2 weeks in order to allow faculty and departments to fully transition the class course delivery to the online learning environment. This was truly a challenging transition, as more than 90% of the SHTM curriculum was delivered in class, and many faculty were actually not familiar with the online platforms that we were about to use, such as Blackboard Collaborate and Microsoft Teams. However, with the tremendous help of the TLX, the Teaching and Learning Exchange team at the college level, and through many, many professional development sessions, we embarked on delivering all our curriculum online in all the consequent semesters, a strategy that, as I mentioned, remained implemented throughout the next semesters and even today. One of the largest projects we actually embarked on was creating an online virtual externship, or internship as is widely known, for our graduating students. Due to the impact of the pandemic and the new restrictions put in place, many of our industry partners were no longer in the position to welcome physical work placements. A couple of them were actually able to provide virtual externships. However, many students were struggling themselves to redefine their business. Many industry partners were actually struggling themselves to redefine their business models and stay afloat. So here we were in a position to graduate over 300 students in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management, but needed their work placement. So this was our solution. The virtual externship project, in which Tammy herself took a very leading role, was supported by a team of 6 faculty members who came up with innovative curriculum to provide students with opportunities to still network with our industry partners and learn from them. The hard work and long hours required by the team to get this project up and running was truly appreciated by our students, who, in the span of one semester, and were obviously previously disillusioned by their work placement prospects and career, were now able to interact with our industry partners through webinars and interviews, but also to expand on their skills using LinkedIn learning platforms. So, for example, as I mentioned, our students were provided with opportunity to network and learn from industry professionals on a variety of topics, such as customer service, leadership, human resources, and risk management. All the webinars were student-led, providing a platform for discussing more general but also specific operational and management topics, as well as professional advice and recommendations. The webinars involved over 60 industry professionals from all sectors of hospitality and tourism and were generally anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes long. Here is an example of our student-led webinars.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking your time out of the day to log in and experience the HR webinar hosted by George Brown College. I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're so excited to be given this opportunity to watch the panel speak and provide us some insight in successfully achieving our goal position, the influence of current events in society, and the evolution of human resources.
The other important component of our virtual externship were the industry interviews. The interviews were arranged based on group of students' interests and their career paths. We had more than 50 industry professionals providing team interviews to our graduating students, focused on addressing challenges and issues faced by their own organization, as well as providing career advice. What made this project more valuable actually as a substitute for in-person work placements was that our students had to present to industry partners with solutions to their operational challenges. This allowed for innovation as well as provided the industry with support during these difficult times, engaging our students in the process and making them feel that they're part of the solution. Here is an example of an interview.
Hi Raj, how are you?
Good, how are you? How are you guys doing today?
Good, my name's Bree. I'll be starting us off today. So I just want to say good afternoon to everyone who's taking the time out to meet with us, and for you for taking the time out as well. And we're happy we are given this opportunity to interview you, and you are the beverage manager at the CN Tower 360 restaurant. We appreciate you taking the time, and we've been doing a lot of research and are excited to learn more about yourself and the CN Tower. Hi Raj, how are you?
So those were very successful overall. The students had a lot to gain from them, but we also realized that part of a work placement, students have opportunities to actually apply and develop their soft skills. So in creating this innovative curriculum, then we realized that for the virtual externship, we also needed to incorporate 22 LinkedIn learning certificates, which had to be completed by our graduating students. All the certificates were focused on soft skills development, such as communication, leadership, time management, customer service, and more. The students were actually asked to upload these certificates to their LinkedIn page, an opportunity for them to increase their visibility and their competitiveness as future employees in our sector. Tammy will now speak to you about the next project, or the other project, innovative component of the virtual externship. Tammy.
Thank you, Maria. So as Maria has already discussed, when we were replacing our students working in industry face-to-face, because that was no longer an option, we had them do the interviews, we had them do the webinars, and we also had them do the LinkedIn modules. And we thought, what else can we do to bring the work experience to our students in an online platform? And out from that came the idea of how do we embed virtual reality? Because virtual reality is really an incredible experience to allow a student to explore all sorts of areas of hospitality right from their own home. So we formed a partnership with Hilton Hotels, and Hilton Hotels kind of has a phenomenal virtual reality training platform for all of their employees within their divisions. And in that partnership, we were able to get access to their Exceed with Empathy. And their Exceed with Empathy is 5 different modules where our students put on these Oculus 360 glasses, and they get to experience 5 different service failures from a customer perspective and how they would solve them. We sent out these Oculus Go headsets to our students to their home address, and we also were able to preload 20 different hospitality experiences. So students had some wine tours in California, to some microbrewery tours, and to some international hotel destinations. So it was a great way to form and strengthen some of our partnerships and allow students to explore the industry from their own home. In the next slide, we're going to have a look at what this experience entailed.
Every day at the corporate office, we make decisions that impact the team members at the hotel. So we really needed to make sure that our corporate team members understand the complexity of working in a hotel. Oculus for Business has really shifted the way we work. We can truly upskill team members faster and really focus on empathy building, which was a game changer for us.
We then said we can use this tool to be able to really help our team members practice different scenarios of building empathy with our guests and make sure that we are delivering best-in-class service.
Hi, I'm here to check in.
If we were to try to do this in a traditional setting, when you have 400,000 team members, that is not something that comes in an inexpensive way for us, and nor do I think it's realistic.
So thank you, Tammy, for presenting and explaining the virtual reality. It was such an exciting project for our students, and being able to take them into an actual virtual workplace and gain some of those skills that they would have otherwise received pre-pandemic. So next, I want to move on to the next topic of our presentation today that focuses on student feedback. We have 2 means through which we actually measured our students' perceptions and impressions of both their academic experience in light of the pandemic, but also their perceptions of the industry and future careers in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. So first, we assessed the students' feedback for their academic experience through the Student Feedback Questionnaire, or SFQs. These were administered during the fall semester, which was fully online. It was the 2nd semester when we were actually delivering curriculum online. About 2,300 students enrolled at that time in School of Hospitality and Tourism Management took this survey. Tammy?
Thank you, Maria. So in this slide here, we ask students, this course motivated me to learn more about the subject. And we're looking at overall motivation from a face-to-face environment to moving fully online. What I want to highlight here is that the orange represents our 1st semester online, and the gray represents our 2nd semester online. And the key thing here is you can see when we first shifted to an online platform, we had an 8% decrease in our student motivation by term. When we went to our 2nd semester online, which is the gray, you can see we had a 6% increase from the spring. So as we adapted to the online platform, the motivation of our students increased. And this is really how education is assisting in the labor market. We see an improvement term over term as part of the recovery. Our focus needs to be ensuring students have skills, but more importantly, making sure that they are engaged and motivated. In this slide here, we asked our students, in our course, I feel connected to an online community. And so again, I want to highlight that the blue here is going to represent the students' response for their 1st term online, and the yellow is going to represent the students' response to their 2nd term online. So I want to highlight the shift to an online platform for our students. And what the results here are showing is that in the 1st online spring term, we had a 10% decrease in students feeling connected to an online community. But from the spring to the fall, we see that our students had a 10% increase from the spring. So we spoke earlier about the need for students to be satisfied in their learning. And a big part of feeling satisfied is really feeling a sense of community around us. So in SHTM, we're focusing in on developing our students and our industry within a community to enhance our student connections using the online platform. So this question here, we asked our students, does the course work well online? And again, the blue is going to represent the first term online, and the yellow is going to represent the student's second term online. And you can see that going from a face-to-face environment into the spring, we had a 20% decrease in online effectiveness. But going from the spring into our second semester online in the fall, we had a 12% increase in terms of the students feeling the courses were effective in an online environment. So we're ensuring as educators that we pivot with the necessary changes while also recognizing the seismic shift of what it means to be an online learner. For those of us that have or know someone of a school-age child, will know firsthand what challenges are presented changing to an online delivery model. And educators and students really are adapting, and that's what this graph is highlighting. And in this last question, we said to our students, based on my overall experience, I would take an online course again. So similar to the previous slide, the blue here represents the first term online and the yellow represents the student's second term online. And you can see that when we went from a face-to-face model to a fully online model in the spring, we had a 20% decrease in students feeling that they would want to take an online course again. But as we transitioned and we went into our second semester online, we showed a 9% increase in students' online experience. So the increase from spring to the fall in all graphs shows that the adaptation to the online platform and the perseverance and the adaptability of our students. Our elements such as virtual reality and our virtual externship will continue to be explored to enhance these results further. Maria?
Thank you, Tammy. So the data speaks really well about our efforts and the students' perception. But what is also very valuable is to listen to their voices. So here you can see a number of quotes from our graduating students, most of them focused on showing appreciation for their new experience, in connecting with our industry partners, listening to their stories, learning from them, and being encouraged by them despite the pandemic. As Milagros in the last quote noted, the new normal can be good too. A sense of optimism, I suppose, is definitely characterized by this feedback, optimism in their future careers and their future post-graduation. So we also gathered our students' perception of the industry through a survey that was administered to our semester 4 graduating students just now last month. Over 200 students filled in the survey, which had 10 questions focused on perceptions of the industry as a future career path, as well as innovation and entrepreneurship opportunities. Tammy will speak to some of the data first. Tammy.
Thank you, Maria. And just to elaborate on what Maria said, earlier we talked about how we adapted and pivoted online with examples such as our virtual externship and virtual reality and webinars. But it's another thing to come back and bring the students' perceptions to light. So these questions were really centered around that online externship. The first question we asked is, as a graduating student during the COVID-19 pandemic, my view of the hospitality and tourism sector as a place of work has changed, and I'm debating different career options in the sector. And as you can see in the results here, we have 56% of the students agree to strongly agree, and 20% of the students feel neutral. We can see that the pandemic has had an impact on our students' outlook on hospitality and tourism as a career, which could potentially lead to brain drain or our talent to become a scarce resource if our talent goes into other industries, resulting in potentially a hyper-competitive market within hospitality and tourism. In the next slide, we asked our students, well, if you're likely to change your careers, what factors would impact you to change your career in the hospitality and tourism sector? And we allowed the students to check all that apply. And we see a couple of really strong points here that 76% of the students feel that availability of jobs could offer them an opportunity to change careers. And 59% said the future of the sector. Another 57% said long-term recovery. So what we can really see in these results here is that the pandemic has resulted in a concern and uncertainty with our current and future labor force. The faster our industry is able to rebound and reinvent will be the key to decrease negative perceptions regarding a career in hospitality and tourism. So in this slide here, this one's interesting. We asked our students, I believe that the pandemic provides opportunities for innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurial endeavors in the hospitality and tourism sector. 65% of the students agree or strongly agree, and about 24% of our students were neutral. So we can see in the previous slide that students might look elsewhere for careers with current uncertainty levels, but we have to remember that at the end of the day, they have chosen to study in the hospitality and tourism industry, and we really need to leverage this and spark their innovation mindset, which can be a real opportunity for the future tourism labor market. In this slide here, we asked them if taking the capstone course has reinforced their desire to become an entrepreneur in the hospitality and tourism sector, despite the current pandemic. And again, here we see that 54.4% strongly agree or agree, and we have about 30% of the students that are neutral. We said in the previous slide how important it is to foster and nurture that entrepreneurial mindset, but here we can really see that we've had success in doing so with our virtual externship. And part of that success we achieved to help foster that entrepreneurial mindset that we need in the hospitality and tourism industry. So certainly in the past, we have seen value in innovation hubs, and now more than ever, they are very important. In this next slide, we asked the students, after attending the School of Hospitality Tourism industry webinars in my virtual externship and hearing from industry partners, I'm confident in pursuing a career in the hospitality and tourism industry despite the pandemic. And here we're seeing, still under 50% strongly agree or agree, and about 42% of our students are neutral. Now, although we know the pandemic created uncertainty within our industry, we really know that we have an opportunity to bring our industry members into the classroom to show them that their skill sets are needed now more than ever within the industry. And that will be part of our post-recovery and that what the new normal looks like. So those skill sets will now be different, and we really need to continue to keep our finger on the pulse on how these skill sets will shift. And then in this slide, we asked, does the virtual externship as a substitute for physical placements, has it reinforced my desire to work in the hospitality industry? And unfortunately, we only saw 32% of our students agree to this, and 43% were neutral. And so it's really not surprising to see that it's difficult to mimic the hands-on face-to-face work experience through a virtual work experience. Although many did feel that it reinforced their desire to work in the hospitality sector, there really still is a strong need for face-to-face work placements when it's safe to do so. So we will continue to build out our virtual experience and our face-to-face externships. As in the past, we know how critical the partnership is between industry and students, now more than ever. And then lastly, we asked our students, considering the pandemic, I'm likely to recommend SHTM programs and a career in the hospitality and tourism sector to my family and friends. And here we see that 42% of our students agree or strongly agree, and about 37.3% of our students are neutral. So as far as our outlook on the industry, I believe that in my professional career, this has been the most challenging experience for that our students have had, but I believe that they're already stronger. So in part of our recovery, we need to rethink what that workforce will look like, including how many staff are needed and what their capabilities need to be compared to how we know the hospitality and tourism industry. We need to advocate for keeping hospitality and tourism at the forefront as a viable career option. Maria?
Definitely, Tammy. Thank you very much. All valid points. And we also asked our students, there was one open-ended question, question 3, asking them that if you are not likely to change careers and you will continue pursuing a career in the hospitality and tourism sector, what were the main factors that influenced you in continuing with this career path? And this was completely open-ended for them to respond to that question. As shown by the word cloud, and again, this is just simple neural network analysis that we did, very general, is looking amongst the keywords used were actually passion and people. So our students, graduating students, really identified their passion for the industry, for working in hospitality, for traveling and connecting with different cultures. People was also one of the central words used in describing reasons why they will continue pursuing a career in tourism and hospitality. As one student remarks, what connects them to our industry is their passion, their love for people and the social aspect of tourism. It is undeniable that passion and people are two very distinct characteristics of our industry, ones that we need to harness and use to remind our students why they selected our industry as a career path. Moreover, in analyzing our students' responses related to the main factors that influence them to continue a career in hospitality and tourism, it was evident that the keywords such as sector and industry were used to explain these factors. Students discuss our sector in relation to tourism and hospitality, but also in relation to recovery, post-pandemic, and the opportunities that this presents. They perceive our industry in relation to the future, to expressing desires and wants and their passion for the industry. The keyword tourism, for example, was used by our students in relation to careers, to people, and a sentiment of continuation, of future, while hospitality was connected more to the global environment, globally, to our industry and to their future careers. As seen in this short summary using neural network analysis, our graduating students' sentiment regarding factors that influence them in continuing or pursuing a career in our sectors are very much based on a sense of our industries, of the tourism and hospitality sectors, being a career path that's desired, that is perceived as having a future, or as continuing, as they put it, at a global level. So that takes us into some of the implications. We presented you with quite a lot of data, I think a lot to take away from, but to conclude, there are a number of implications here. Firstly, in light of the pandemic, academic institution and tourism and hospitality programs had to make tremendous changes to curriculum, some of which impact the students' ability to interact with our industry partners. So in-person contact, which is so important to our hospitality industry, people space for people with people, has also been removed in these virtual learning platforms, leading our students to engage online only. So the future implications of such a curriculum delivery on our industry remains to be seen, despite the good results of our student satisfaction survey of how courses are being delivered online. Where an opportunity lies with current students, based on what Tammy showed you in terms of our survey, is to address what we call the neutral group. This group is actually unsure if they want to continue or pursue a career in our sector or not. Strategies need to then be implemented to influence this group and remind them about the reason why they joined our sector to begin with. Optimistic messages of what is currently happening in terms of recovery, sentiment analysis data, and projections of recovery needs to be shared with academic institutions in order to elevate the optimism level and to pursue those feeling less than hopeful to continue on their path. It is clear that innovation and entrepreneurship has a place in the mind of our students when thinking of the impact of a pandemic on our sector. As shown by the survey, the current curriculum provides them with some information, but would be a good strategy to support innovation further through the creation of platforms where potential entrepreneurs or those desiring to look into new options, delivery models, can gather to support the post-pandemic recovery efforts of our sector. The last couple of points I want to make are related to keeping those who are still passionate about our industry as a career path engaged through various communication tools, having people at the center of the experience portrayed, highlighting the passion that they have for tourism and hospitality industry. Conversations need to be around the future of our sector, on the recovery efforts, on the future opportunities through innovation and career options that our new graduates have. In the end, the reality is that information is the most powerful knowledge tool. So as long as we try to keep our students informed, we may be able to actually also keep them motivated and engaged and help them to continue pursuing a career in our sector now and post-pandemic, post-recovery. So with that, Tammy and I would like to thank you very much for listening to our presentation. And please remember to complete the survey using the link posted in the chat. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.